So like I said, if you guys are just now popping on, I'm going to go ahead and get my screen ready and get us going. Continue to get comfortable. I might wish I had a joke to tell everybody, but I don't. Sometimes I do. I don't know if anybody listens. I'm going to plug the radio show. Me and my friend Sheena over at the Student Health Center, we do have a radio show on 90.7 The Capstone, and we air on Sunday afternoons. And so I always try to find little jokes to tell, but I'm really not a great joke teller. I'm going to not attempt it. I can do impressions sometimes, but only of people that I know, not anybody famous. So we'll give it a few more minutes. I'm going to check my phone. Another minute to go before we'll jump right in. But as you're getting comfortable and as you're joining the webinar, I just want to encourage you to kind of sit back, relax, and listen. That's what I like to do during webinars, take a break from what I've been doing all day, whether I've been teaching or I have been checking emails or in meetings. That's kind of a chance for you guys to just get some information and just to be aware and educated on a few things. So it is 1 o'clock and we are going to start. Thank you guys for joining me today. And I've done a handful of webinars for health promotion and wellness, and I'm always excited to jump in. So if you know me, hello. If you don't know me, I'll do a quick little introduction before we dive right in. My name is Whitney Pape, and I am the Manager of Fitness Services with University Recreation. I am still, as you can see in my little yoga room, I'm still working remotely. I'm kind of in and out of the facility. So I still may see some of you guys when I walk in, but for the most part, I'm still trying to do some work remotely, as I think most of us are trying to do. I have the privilege of working with our personal training program and our Pilates Reformer program and our group exercise program. Charles Burrows and Dee Hansen, they are two coordinators that actually do all the hard, heavy lifting and make my job super easy. They do all of the scheduling and setting up personal training clients with trainers and getting the group exercise classes together. So I do have some exciting news. We are launching our in-person group X classes this week. I'll give you a little bit more information about that in the presentation, but I have been in the fitness world since I was an undergrad. I graduated with my degree in exercise and sports science from the good old UA, and got my master's in health promotion, wellness, health studies, all of those cool things that we like to talk about on these webinars. So I've been in the journey for a while. I have taught many different types of classes. I have trained clients. I still currently train clients on the Pilates Reformer machines, but I just enjoy what I do. And most importantly, I think I enjoy educating you guys on just information that I have that I think can be of value as you start your exercise program. So with no further ado, we are going to jump in. So fitness, where do I begin? I hope that if you are joining this webinar, maybe you haven't exercised in a while. Maybe this is the first time that you have even contemplated working out or doing some type of exercise. I know with this year, 2020, it'll go down the history books, and it has been a very interesting year, especially if you have started your workout routine with your New Year's resolutions in January, and it went pretty well for a little while, and then it kind of, March hit, and we all kind of went into our little caves to quarantine. So we're going to start over, and it's not too late. I feel like there's kind of a renewing spirit and freshness, and so I hope that the information I give you will help you to think about getting physically active. So before we get going, there are tons of things out there, tons of resources, tons of people to listen to before you start getting started and getting physically active. And as a personal trainer, as someone that has been in the field for a while, the first thing that I would always recommend that you do when you're starting out new, number one, is to get your physician's clearance if you are working out with a trainer or starting a new program. But then number two, baseline and assessment. I think that we can all agree, being at an institution of higher education, that assessing is what we do. finding our baseline and then seeing if we progress, regress, whatever it may be. So baseline and assessment, it definitely helps us to get a starting point, helps us to figure out where we need to be. Sometimes we have kind of these lofty ideas and goals about fitness, especially the media, Instagram, TV, all these things that want to capitalize on the fitness industry and getting you guys and myself to buy into that. We sometimes forget that we need to start kind of small. And so that's my goal today, is to kind of help you think that. So we need to find a starting point. That goes for all of us, even if we've been working out. We've had a little setback with our quarantine and COVID. We're starting over. We need to have a starting point. Baseline and assessment will help us to establish our goals. We'll talk a little bit briefly about what our goals look like. It also helps us to create a plan. If you hear a little coughing in the background, that is my dog, because we are working at home. She's an old girl. It helps us to create a plan so that we can schedule our workout, so we can schedule our time to actually be physically active. And I think for some of us, it is kind of hard to create that plan, especially when we have all these moving pieces, and it's just kind of difficult to manage our lives, okay? Baseline assessment, it also helps to personalize our program. Each and every single one of us are individuals. We are all made very differently, and so my plan may look totally different than your plan, and your plan may look different than your spouse's plan, friend, and so on. And she also snores because she likes being right under mom's feet. So the life of remotely working. And then our last one is determining our fitness level. And that's going to be really important, because we don't just want to jump into a workout, hurt ourselves, just not have a great experience. And so if we think about these 5 different components, it'll help us to maybe feel a little bit more excited about our workout. At least I hope it will today. So those of you who have been at the university or just life in general may know what SMART goals are. And so I always like to remind myself what those goals are, because I myself, when I'm doing work, my regular work, my workouts, I kind of need to reevaluate for myself. So they need to be specific. In fitness, we want to be specific, as in, are we looking at weight loss? Are we looking at gaining more muscle? Are we looking at decreasing our risk of disease? Is it something that our doctor has told us we need to be aware of? I want you to think as specifically as possible. And sometimes we have to refine that a little bit once we kind of think about it and reflect on it. And that's what I actually encourage you to do, is set your goals and then reflect on them. Fitness goals are the same as any other goal. They need to be measurable, and there's a couple of different ways, actually a lot of different ways that you can measure your fitness goals that we'll talk about shortly. Attainable, can you reach that goal? And the one thing I can think of, when I've been working with clients and I've been personal training, is usually weight loss is number one, right? That's what people want. That's the majority of our population when they write down on their paperwork what their goals are. Number one, at least 90% of the time. I might be flexing a little on those percentages, but most of the time, people want to lose a large amount of weight in a very short amount of time. It's the bride that wants to lose 20 pounds before her wedding in a couple of months. Or I'm going on this cruise and I want to be able to eat everything at any time of day. I want to lose this much weight. Or I'm going to Hawaii and I need to lose this much weight so I can look good in my bathing suit. Whatever your goal is, we need to make sure that it's actually attainable, because if it's not, that just kind of brings us down when we don't reach those little goals. So attainable. So a better option may be, I would like to lose 5 pounds in a month. Seems really small, but at least after a month, when we've reached that goal, we feel good about it. We're energized and motivated. It also needs to be relevant. I feel like that attainable and relevant go hand in hand with fitness. I'm going to use weight loss again. You're going to hear me say that a lot, because I get those a lot when people are asking me questions. I've had individuals come up to me that don't have weight problems, and yet they, in their mind, want to lose more weight, and I have to kind of be the professional that I am and kind of work through those goals. So weight loss for somebody that has a good BMI is not necessarily a relevant goal. Maybe decreasing their fat mass and increasing muscle, or gaining power in an exercise would be more relevant. And then time bound, which makes sense. We need to create a little timeline so that we can actually keep ourselves on track. So SMART goals, I feel like we've all heard them before, right? So I might have to kind of move my little screen around a little bit, play DJ on this PowerPoint. Benefits of daily exercise. So just to throw these out there, just so you know that when you start being physically active, you will have some immediate benefits, which I think are super great. It reduces risk of chronic disease. That's pretty huge. That might not be immediate right when you start working out, but all in all, if you have a pretty sedentary life, getting up and moving is going to help you decrease chronic risk, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancers, things like that. Now, an immediate response to exercise is going to be your increased mood and energy levels. And I think most of us, if we've ever kind of been cooped up all day inside, or I don't know, in the office, if you're allowed to go there, you just feel kind of, excuse my French, like crap. You don't feel that great. And the moment you do something active to get blood flow in the body, to release some endorphins, it just makes you mentally feel good. So that's an immediate response. Sleep quality will also improve. If I've been sitting all day doing work and I try to go to sleep, I have too much energy in my body that I need to release. So going for a nice long walk, running, if you do that kind of thing, I don't. But those types of things will help you to sleep better immediately, but then also over time. Weight management, we already know that. Strengthening bones and muscles increases your metabolism and energy production, meaning your body becomes more efficient, more fit. And then I think one thing that we could all agree on is it helps to decrease our anxiety and depression, especially with the load that 2020 has given all of us. So benefits of daily exercise, you may have already known these, but hopefully this is just a little bit of a reminder of these things. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what's recommended. So I always go based off of ACSM, which is the American College of Sports Medicine. As a fitness professional, this is our gold standard. This is who we look to. The CDC also looks to ACSM. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking for information, just general fitness knowledge. I would 100% stand behind the American College of Sports Medicine. There's a lot of other options out there, but this is my go-to as a fitness professional. And 1975, they've been around for a while, so you can't beat that. Recommended daily physical activity. So if you're between 18 and 65 years old, you should definitely do at least 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week of moderate intensity physical activity. So physical activity is different than fitness. Physical activity is going to be the movement that you do throughout the day. So let's go back to this sedentary mindset. If I'm just sitting around all the time, I am not physically active, right? But if I'm outside doing yard work, if I'm gardening, if I'm cleaning inside, moving around, picking up grandkids, kids, and I'm up and down a lot, you are doing physical activity. So it's the idea of getting up and moving. Vigorous intensity aerobic activity for 20 minutes, 3 days per week. Well, the more intensely you do it, the less time you have to spend doing it, which I think is pretty awesome. I mean, the less time I have to spend. I don't know if I'd rather exert more energy at that point or have less time. And that's kind of where you can play around with it. We should also be doing strengthening exercises, and we'll talk about what that looks like and how you can start to do that. And work that into your schedule at least 2 days a week. More is better, but I think starting out 2 days a week is a good idea. Okay, so fitness and physical activity, they're different, right? So you have fitness, which is the condition of being physically fit and healthy, optimal health and well-being, survival of the fittest. I think about that phrase in my head. That helps me to remember what fitness is. Physical activity is bodily movement. So it's activities really at any intensity, which we already talked about, moderate, and then a vigorous, which is just more, obviously, exercise. And it doesn't have to be exercise related. So physical activity and fitness are very different. I think that sometimes we get confused with those words interchangeably. And even when we looked at the definition through ACSM, the idea is to get people off their butts. That's what it is. So they want people to get up and move because 30 minutes of physical activity a day has proven to obviously decrease the risk of disease, increase mood, all those benefits, okay? But we want to look at actually creating an exercise program and sticking with it and setting goals, okay? So a little different mindset. So in order to do that, we do have the 5 components of fitness, and I'll let you, I picked really pretty colors. I don't normally go for these types of colors, but I thought it was just kind of refreshing. So if you do not like pinks and purples, I do apologize, but I don't know, kind of thought it was kind of nice, a little change. 5 components of fitness. We have cardio, respiratory, endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, and body composition. So basically, these 5 things make up total fitness. And we're going to break it down and actually look at, okay, what does that look like? Many times we kind of neglect a couple of these. So I know some people that cardio is their jam. That's what they like to do. They want to run all the time. They want to bike all the time. They enjoy that. Others like strength exercises. They like to lift heavy things and set things down. A lot of people, like me, I love flexibility because I teach yoga. Not very many people care for that as much. And then body composition, we got to be able to see what our makeup of our body is. And I think that that is super important. So let's break it down. All right, so we have cardiorespiratory endurance. So this is the ability of the circulatory and respiratory system to supply oxygen during sustained physical activity. These are the exercises where you're huffing and puffing, okay? You're running, you're briskly walking, you're swimming, you're doing aerobic dance, you're bicycling, you're hiking. It's all those exercises that you can think about that you clearly feel your heart rate going up. Some exercises can be done with this increase. We call it a bell curve, where it kind of goes like this. A lot of our cycling and kickboxing classes, they kind of start you out and warm you up and then gradually bring your heart rate up and then bring it back down. There's other types of training that's HIIT and interval training, so high intensity interval training where you work super, super hard and then you have a rest break. So there's different forms of challenging and conditioning your cardiorespiratory endurance. They're all great. And honestly, it depends on what you're trying to do. If your goal is to run a marathon or walk a marathon, well, then clearly you're going to be training for that. So you're going to be doing long distance. If your goal is just to get physically fit in your cardiovascularly and you have less time, I would do quick interval training. So it's recommended 150 minutes a week, 50 to 85% of your max heart rate. So 150 minutes a week, it really isn't that much if you look at how many minutes are in a week, which I don't do math well, so you can figure that out. And then 50 to 85% of your max heart rate. So I have a little formula here for you, and you can actually, I'll kind of teach you how to do it, and you can actually plug it in for yourself. And the Carbonum formula is very, very helpful because it's individualized. If you think about those components earlier about setting your goals, baseline, and assessment, this is going to be number 1 for cardio. You're going to figure out your numbers first. So if I'm somebody that wears a wearable, that wears a watch with my heart rate, I may not have to really do this because I'm already going to give the information, I'm already going to have the information I need. But if you don't wear those and you like to do a little math, you can plug your own numbers in. So you're going to take 220 minus your age. That's going to give you your max heart rate. You should never exercise to your max heart rate. It is pretty dangerous. I don't even know if I've physically ever hit my max heart rate in my entire life. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think I have. But you really shouldn't hit that. It's not a safe place to be. It's not efficient. So we find our max heart rate depending on your age. You're also going to need to find your true resting heart rate. Now, if you don't have a watch that just tells you what your resting heart rate is, the resting heart rate would be on a, you find it on a morning where you don't have to wake up to an alarm, or maybe you know you're super relaxed and you can just lie there in bed, either find your carotid artery or your radial artery. I think your thumb, like it's rad, that's your radial artery. And then you count for a minute and you find your heart rate. Doing it in the middle of the day, it's not going to be true resting because you would have moved around and got your heart rate up. And so we just prefer that you do it in the morning. So you take your max heart rate, you subtract it from your resting heart rate, you're going to get a number that's your heart rate reserve, and that's important when we start factoring it in to these numbers and these percentages. So you take your heart rate reserve and you multiply it by 0.5, so 50%. You get your number, and then you add back in your resting heart rate. That number is going to give you the low end of your training zone. You do the same thing again with 85%. Now you have your training zone. So you have your low end and your high end. As you get more fit, as your resting heart rate starts to lower, those numbers are going to change. So when we look at assessment and going back and, we've done our baseline assessment and everything, when we come back to kind of assess our cardiorespiratory fitness, we can actually check the resting heart rate. Hopefully it's gone down, refactor in that number, and we have a new training zone. That unfortunately makes us work harder because then we're more fit and it's harder to get our heart rates up because our body's adjusting to our training. So I hope that kind of makes sense. I prefer using this formula with my clients. It's like I said, it's individualized. It's for you and nobody else. Okay, unless you have the same resting heart rate, obviously. So that's cardiorespiratory endurance. It's a very key, important factor, especially for those of you that have a history of heart disease and heart health. We need that heart to be efficient. All right, then we have muscular strength and endurance. I'll move myself around a little bit. There we go. So muscular strength is the ability for the muscle to exert force, okay? So how much can you lift? Thinking about heavy. So I always think heavy when I hear about muscular strength. When you think about muscular endurance, it's the ability to continue that exercise without fatigue. So push-ups, squats, without a load, without extra weight on. Anything that is, resistance training, it could be lifting weights, weight machines, resistance bands, heavy gardening, lifting heavy stuff. I mean, anytime we know what lifting is, pushing or pulling, exerting force, that is your muscular strength and endurance. It's recommended that you do 8 to 12 reps. 12 would be more on the endurance end. So anytime you go 12 and a little bit higher, looking at muscular endurance. Anytime you go 8, really like 10 or 8 and lower, that's going to be more strength. Okay, so when you're lifting weights, you always want to be able to maintain proper form. The moment you stop maintaining proper form and the moment you see like that you're shifting your hips or moving your shoulders and you're not doing the exercise like you did in the beginning, you need to stop. And you can kind of gauge it by, if I'm doing 8 reps and by that last one, it's like pretty tough to get up with good form, you have the right weight, okay? I'm sure we've all seen it, or we've maybe done it ourselves, where we've picked up way too much weight, it's too heavy, and we lose alignment. We start flailing our arms around. I mean, there's some pretty funny things that happen in weight rooms, I'm not gonna lie, and I get a good, laugh out of it. But we have to be careful because you are loading a muscle, but you also have tendons and joints and ligaments and bones involved that we just need to be careful when we're doing those things. 2 to 3 days a week and multi-joint exercises. So this to me is one of the best things. If I was learning about exercise maybe for the first time, to me this would be great because this means less time if I'm on a time crunch. Multi-joint means things that are going to involve like your shoulder and your elbow or your hips and your knees. So compound type of movement. So a chest press is going to involve movement at the shoulder joint and the elbow joint. So you're getting your chest muscles, but you're also getting these assister muscles that are going to help with that exercise. So you're kind of getting, I guess, what's the term, a bang for your buck or something like that. That's how I think about it. So when I'm training clients or when I put them on machines, if they're new starting out, you don't want to have a lot to do because it gets kind of overwhelming. So the least amount of equipment that you have to use and your focus can just be on actually moving through the exercise and counting and focusing on your breath and form, the better the workout and you're more likely to do it. So I don't know, I think that's kind of nice to learn. Doesn't mean you can't do other types of exercises like a very specialized, like in bicep curls or triceps. Those things are fine. We're just talking about when you're starting out an exercise program, if that makes sense. All right. Flexibility, my favorite thing. Flexibility is super important. It's important because as we start to do these other components of fitness, cardio, and then strength, we're going to start to shorten that muscle a little because it's working. Its fibers are tearing and then it's mending back tighter and stronger. And so we have to keep the joints mobile to work out efficiently, right? And so that we can prevent injury. So flexibility just means the range of motion available at a joint. I always think about hips and shoulders. That's that ball and socket joint that moves like this. I always think about hips and shoulders because most people that I have come in contact with have had shoulder surgery and have gotten locked up, or maybe can't raise the arms above the head. We want to find range of motion and flexibility so that when we do overhead work, we feel really supported using the muscles we're supposed to be using, so we're not using muscles we're not supposed to be using, so we have better range of motion. Things like yoga, I encourage you guys, I'll go ahead and start to plug it, I was gonna say it for the end, to check out our YouTube channel at the Rec Center, because we do have an archive of videos and actual virtual classes if you want to try it at home. Very gentle yoga classes that aren't going to be, doing headstands. Who does that? I'm just kidding. If you do, good for you. Static stretching, which is your holds. So in yoga, we would hold a stretch for anywhere from 5 to 10 breaths. That is preferably done either in yoga or after a workout. And then dynamic stretching is more for your warm-ups when you're moving through the joint at like 1 to 2 second holds, just so you can practice range of motion. You should be doing flexibility every day. If you schedule your workout to where you have like Monday, Wednesday, Friday workouts, obviously you're going to do some stretches and warming up before and after. But on the other days of the week, flexibility is really important for mobilization. Okay, not just for shoulders, hips, knees, and elbows, but for the spine, because your spine is essentially a joint. Every day, 1 to 2 seconds moving, or if you hold it 15 to 30 seconds, or you can hold it for a little bit longer. And I would do it multiple times. And then our last little component of fitness is body composition. And you can raise your hand if you want, if you've ever seen the bod pod, or if you've ever been in the bod pod, or if you have any idea what this thing is. We actually have one of these at the Rec Center. I call it, a couple of people are raising their hands. I call it the little egg, or like spaceship. It looks like something from like Mork and Mindy, or, like it came out of space or something. But the bod pod is a great way to measure body composition. So your body composition is the relative amounts of muscle, fat, and bone, and other vital parts of the body. What we do at the Rec Center, when we put you in the bod pod, we get a nice little printout that shows you your weight, how much of that weight is fat weight, how much of that weight is lean weight. And then it also gives you your resting metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories you would need in a day to sustain life. And then also some other options if you are active, extremely active, things like that. So if you are looking to get a better idea of your nutritional, I shouldn't say nutritional, your caloric intake, we leave the nutritional intake up to our dietitians. We can give you that guide, and then that's helpful when you start looking at your calories. The numbers here, it is basically, it's our little guide when we're doing our bod pod. We never want anybody to be, most of the time when we're testing people, it's very rare that we get people in that athlete zone. Most of the time athletes are within the university and they're doing it within their own programs. We tend to see more people in the normal to above average range. And so it gives you an idea of where you stand, and that your trainer can talk to you about those numbers. The kinesiology department has hydrostatic weighing, which is you get dunked under in some water and you breathe out and exhale, and it'll measure your body fat. DEXA scan, and then skin fold is another one that DEXA, the kinesiology has that over and more. And then we can easily do a skin fold, which are the skin calipers, basically pinching fat, as awful as that sounds. But fat is a very important component to our makeup. But at the same time, when we are looking at body composition and we do want people to set realistic goals, we could help them to, instead of looking at the scales, we could say, well, let's decrease your fat mass and let's increase your muscle. And it's just a better way to look at goal setting. So that's body composition, all right? So kind of a lot of information just to take in. And honestly, if you were to Google any of those things, you find a lot of information. I just kind of want to get you thinking about those 5 components: cardio, strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, and body composition. So you know what you need to look at, right? You know you need to set SMART goals. You know what you need to do physically. And honestly, it comes down to your time and how you're going to hold yourself accountable. And I think that is the hardest part. I think the hardest part of starting a workout program isn't that you don't have the information or the resources. It's just time and energy is what it comes down to. And I hate to say it, but there's no quick fix. Well, actually, there are tons of quick fixes. Are they healthy? No, not a chance. So don't ever try the quick fix that's too good to be true, because it is too good to be true. And I always encourage individuals to think about fitness as a journey. It's not this, quick fix. You got to do it your whole life. So my advice is you got to set up time to be physically active. Hence my little calendar on there. You have to schedule your workouts. You have to actually put it in your calendar and say, I am going to do this. We have tons of campus resources I'll get to later. Listen to your body. If your body isn't moving well that day, then reevaluate your plan. If something isn't working, reevaluate your plan. DOMS, that is short for delayed onset muscle soreness. Sometimes I'll train people and they'll be new to strength training and they'll start working out and they feel the soreness kind of set in the next day. Then they really start to feel it the day after that, about 2 days later. That's okay. Your body is still adjusting. It's actually good. You've actually done the work and your muscles are starting to repair, and that's great. So just be aware that that could happen. Measuring intensity, that's important. There's different ways to do that. We already talked about with strength training how to keep making sure you keep your alignment so that the last repetition that you do, it's still pretty challenging, but you're not changing the alignment of your body. And then obviously with cardio, thinking about ways to measure your intensity with your heart rate and that Carbonin formula. So this is how we put it into a workout, okay? We know we need cardio, strength, flexibility, body composition. So we use this little helpful tool called the FIT principle in the fitness world, and it helps you to figure out like how often you should be working out and basically to come out with your workout plan. Frequency, how often, this is your weekly schedule, okay? Intensity, we talked about cardio, 50 to 85% of your max heart rate, and for strength, 3 to 5 days a week, 8 to 12 reps, or however many you decide within your workout. Time is how long, okay? So cardio, you can set a time, right? Strength, you could still set yourself a time if you're doing interval work, but most of the time I just tell clients, you have your workout, get it done in a timely manner. Don't just sit around forever talking, get it done. And then the type is the type of activity. So I put together a little beginner workout kind of right here. You could do the same thing. You could open up Excel. You could put one column, cardio, strength, flexibility. I put body composition on here if you do come to the rec center and you do a bod pod, but essentially you could really only do cardio, strength, and flexibility. This is just what I would recommend for somebody starting out. I would say 3 days a week, maybe 2 if it doesn't work with your schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday for cardio. 50 to 65% of your max heart rate. That's a gentle cardio work. It's sustained for 20 minutes. And I'm going to try to do a walk/jog. My knees feel good. I feel like I could jog a little bit, either outside, on a treadmill. You can even get more specific with this on intensity. If you do like cardio machines, you could say, I am going to walk on the treadmill at this grade of an incline, and be a little bit more specific so that you can see week to week how you want to progress and you actually map it out. And then for strength training, 2 days a week, I just put Monday and Wednesday just as an idea. 8 repetitions, 2 sets. 8 is a good number because you're working on strength, you're working on good alignment. That last rep should be difficult, but you should still have good form. Time until it's completed. Remember, think timely. Don't just hang out and talk at the gym. I mean, it's still a social place. Let's be real. We need to get out more. And then what kind of motor are you going to use or what kind of type? So I think weight machines are great. So there's always been a little controversy between, do you do free weights and dumbbells or do you do weight machines? I'm gonna tell you my thoughts on both. They're both great. Sorry. I usually put newer people on weight machines because you're gonna get more support and it's gonna keep you in better alignment. And to be honest, nowadays they're a lot easier to use and work. I'm not talking about plate loaded where you have to like pick the big heavy weight and put it on there. I'm talking about the weight machine where you look at the picture and it says, this will work your chest and your triceps. And you go, well, that's what Whitney said to do, so I'm gonna do that one. We have new machines at the rec center, and right when you walk in, they're great. They're smooth, they're comfortable, they're awesome. So I always put people on weight machines first, and I save my dumbbells for people that have been in the gym a little bit longer with more experience since it's more balance and core strength, but they're both good. Flexibility, you're gonna say, I'm gonna do this every day, before and after my workout. Before my workout, I'm gonna dynamically stretch. You could Google dynamic stretching and pull up tons of YouTube videos. Great instruction. And then after, I'm going to do my more static holds. That's to release tension in the muscle and give us a little mental tension and de-stress as well. You're going to stretch out your large muscle groups. These are all the muscles that you would have worked in your actual cardio and strength portion. So your quads and your legs, your hamstrings, your chest, your back. And again, Google it. We also have some videos on our YouTube webpage. I think I did one way early in the summer about stretching at home, or I don't know, there's been a lot, so you'd have to go and check it out. And then body composition, if you are looking to see results, not just the scales, because the scales can sometimes be a total downer if you haven't lost any weight, but you're like, well, my clothes are way easier, looser, I guess. Then body composition is the way to go. We do that at the rec center. We do the bod pod. So that's kind of an idea of how you can create your workout. And that's without a trainer. That's just you thinking about these components, pulling up an Excel spreadsheet and just kind of typing in what you want to do, and then looking at your schedule and saying, I'm going to go do these things. Cardio can be done, really anywhere. If you want to get that, increase that intensity, it can be a little bit difficult if you don't have a treadmill to push you, or a hill, or some type of mode to increase resistance. Strength training can be hard if you are at home, if you don't have the equipment. So that's when it comes down to body weight and things like that. I just highly recommend finding a gym that works for you so that you can go in, go to your machine, and you have support. That's just personally what I think. So I know this is a little bit hard to read, but this is called an RPE scale. And so if you didn't want to, find your training zone of what your percentages are, you could use a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being 100% of your max heart rate, you're at your max heart rate, and then 1 being at that 60, 65. I typically encourage people to stay between that 4 to 6, which is like a warm up, and not to go past the 9. 9 is going to be your real hard interval work that you can't really maintain that long. There's lots of resources if you Google it. I thought this little picture was funny because it had the emojis of the, faces, and it was easier to keep that in mind. But we use that a lot when we're personal training clients, because if we don't have a heart rate monitor on them, and now, we're keeping our distance in the studio, if we can say, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 being a warm up, 10 being an all out hardest thing you've ever done, where are you right now? And that helps us to kind of figure out where people are. Okay. I said I was going to share some resources with you before I come into the chat and give you some info. We do have a YouTube channel. We are doing live virtual classes. So I'm going to change my screen, and let's see. I'm going to stop my screen share for just a second. I'm actually going to bring you up to our website just because, where's my website? Right here. Just so you kind of get an idea of how you would access these things. So if you go to the UREC website and you come over here to fitness, our fitness tab is going to have everything you need, okay? And some of you have probably already seen it, but I just want to help navigate a little on our website. If you have some questions about things that go on in fitness, we do have our frequently asked questions page. One thing you're going to want to look at is the group exercise page. Now, we are starting our in-person classes tomorrow, okay? So you can archive the virtual classes here. This is a link to our YouTube channel, and this is our current schedule. We just had a few classes going on. Starting tomorrow, this is our schedule for the rest of the semester. When you click on, we'll just say, for instance, cycle, it'll pull up program instances, and you can actually register for that class. And these are already full for the next few classes. So that does give you a chance to actually register online. You will go in through MyBama. Once you click on the class, it'll say log in. Being faculty staff, you log in with MyBama, you're good to go. We do have live classes that will continue to run on the YouTube channel. Our days class will be done via Zoom. So we have lots of options. Like I said, you can go back to our YouTube channel and you can actually go to our archived classes. We're UA Recreation. If you hit the subscribe button, you will get notifications when we have posted new material, when we go live. I think this is that video of me doing stretching at home, which would hit all the muscle groups that you would need. So a pretty good amount of classes that you can check in here and do at home, which I think is super, super beneficial. If you go back to our web page, just want to make sure you guys know all the options. We do have personal training. So if you're kind of to the point where you're like, you know, I would really just love instruction and love, you know, somebody telling me what to do, which that's why we have trainers. You can look at the rates for our sessions here. You can do the DocuSign. You don't even have to come in to fill out the DocuSign packet. Go to the shop, the same portal I went to buy your sessions. We will then contact you and get you set up with a trainer. We do it within 48 hours. We try to work really hard to get you guys hooked up. We do have our small group services temporarily suspended for this right now, but we hope to bring that back soon. And then some information about our bod pod if you're interested and want to schedule that. That's definitely an option. And then the last thing I'll show you on our webpage is Pilates Reformer. This is what I teach along with a couple of other instructors. I would love to do a free intro class for you. I have some times listed here. If a time doesn't work for you, you can reach out to me and we'll schedule it. We will be posting a couple of classes for the month of October, but you can also do private sessions. And when you do that intro class, it helps us to assess where we recommend that you go. But you kind of see our schedule is light right now just because of the times. And but we're excited to actually be offering these services again to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and come open to the chat and see if I have anybody has any questions. And I'll just leave it open for a second. If you would like to email me and you know have questions about the rec center, I will tell you we are requiring masks. Everybody has to wear a mask, even when you're exercising. I feel like everybody's doing a pretty good job wearing their mask. So it's a must. We have to do that. If Ashley's putting the Ashley just gave me a little message because I forget things, but we will have this presentation posted and archived and saved, and I will get the PowerPoint to Wellness so that they can post it. I do have a question about eating before exercise or after. I would definitely speak specifically like what you're thinking about eating, talk with your dietitian about that, and it kind of depends on the preference, and it depends on when you ate before. So if I'm on a completely empty stomach and I haven't eaten since dinner the day before and it's, you know, 10 o'clock or noon, I probably need a snack or something like an hour before I exercise. I wouldn't eat something just right before you exercise. I would give it a little bit of time to digest. And same thing with after. If you're looking at supplements, I would talk to a dietitian about that, but you've got to make sure you have enough energy stored so that you can perform the exercise. And if you're getting lightheaded when you work out, well, you're not going to get your best workout in, you know what I mean? So changing your workout routine, what I would do, especially if you're new, is I would keep the same routine for like 2 weeks just to get my body into the game. But then every week I would kind of do a little something extra to tweak it. If you start doing your reps and you're doing a chest press and you realize, okay, this is I'm kind of used to this. I'm not, it's not as difficult or as hard as it was. I would increase it in some way. It could be the number of reps. It could be the weight. You can find ways to increase it. I also like cross training, doing more than one thing. So if you're going to do some strength training this day, then maybe the next day to give your body a break from it. I don't know, you go outside and play with your kids and do something more active, but you do want to keep challenging your body so that you're not just in this maintenance phase. So yeah, I would definitely change out when you first get started, get used to it a couple of weeks, and then maybe like every week or two, kind of give yourself a little bit of change. Okay, so it's kind of hard, going to the gym, I guess, isn't ideal for all of us because let's face it, we don't always want to be around people nowadays. If you are working out at home, you can always do some version of a squat, okay? Everybody can do some version of a squat. Squats can be a super deep knee bend. They can be as easy as just standing up from your chair and sitting back down. So think about variations of a squat because that's going to work all the muscle groups in your legs. I mean, it's going to hit everything. Some type of variation of a push-up. So when we hear the word push-up, we kind of get a little bit like, I can't do push-ups. Yes, you can, because you could do a push-up against the wall. You could do a push-up on your knees. The further away your knees are from your head, the harder it is. And the closer they are, like on hands and knees, the easier it is, and you're still working on those same motions. I always recommend, if you can, to grab, to go to Walmart, Amazon, get resistance bands because they're not super expensive and they're lightweight and you can travel with them. So you can throw them in your suitcase or wherever, and you always have your little gym there. And like I said, YouTube's the best place. You could just Google resistance band exercises at home. And then again, we have a lot of stuff on our YouTube channel, but if you don't want to lug around weights, if you could have weights, that's great. But I would do push-ups variations, plank variations. You can do them on your knees, your elbows, different type of squat variations, and get creative with things around your house. Charles, one of our coordinators, he has a couple of workouts with like household items on our YouTube channel, which was pretty cool, pretty creative. So I think people that are beginning cardio, I would always start with walking. I think walking is the best thing you can do. And I think you can increase walking by obviously walking faster. You can add hand weights to add movement of the arms. You can go up hills. You can go longer distances. So honestly, walking is number one starting out. It's kind of the couch to 5K method that we're thinking about, where you're getting off your couch. You got to start somewhere. So I would encourage everybody, if cardio is like not your thing, just get a friend, wear your face mask if you're on campus. If you're not on campus, I mean, you could probably, sneak it off a little, and just go for a really good walk and start small. If y'all have any more questions, I'll leave the chat open a little bit longer. My name is Whitney Pape, and my email address is just whitney.pape, paper without the R, easy, at ua.edu. And like I said, our live Group X classes start tomorrow. Go online and register. We do still have water aerobics, but I couldn't tell you when they're meeting because I think they're only meeting at the aquatic center right now. And the schedule, the water classes, you just have to have a membership. So all of our group exercise classes are free. You just have to have a membership to the facility, and that's basically it. So if you go back to our fitness tab on the website and go down to group exercise and then keep scrolling down to the schedule, I believe we've got a couple of classes that we offer at the aquatic center on the schedule. So yeah, if you have more questions, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to answer them, and I'm gonna shut it down, and I've enjoyed having you guys, and just let me know if there's anything you need, and I'll see you next time. Bye.